Namaste and welcome to Yin and Restorative Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua, and for today's practice, which our live community has requested, we focus physically on releasing tension in the lower back. And of course, we'll do the whole body as well. Grab a couple of blocks if you have them, a strap, a bolster, and a blanket. And let's begin in any comfortable seated position that allows you to feel upright in the spine and relaxed in the whole body. You may even like to sit up on any of your props. So, we have been taking a tour through the 8 main practices of yoga as described by the Yoga Sutras as the 8 limbs of yoga. And we are now on the 6th of the 8 limbs. So the 6th limb of yoga is dharana, and it's Sanskrit for concentration. It's a prerequisite for meditation and is precluded by the ability to let go of outside distraction and turn your attention inward, which was the last limb, pratyahara. So, have you ever felt so immersed in one thing that time seemed irrelevant? Perhaps it's gardening, dancing, running, playing a sport or a musical instrument or creating art. Your one pointed attention to that task, situation, or person at hand feels almost effortless as you're drawn by a state of love, of curiosity, of care. So positive psychology might call this a state of flow, or the flow state, which professional athletes might call being in the zone. It's a choice to commit your focus and presence on one thing for a duration of time. And I look at it as more of a choice of letting go of wandering mind and letting the mind rest its awareness on that one thing. It's a mindfulness practice and the opposite of multitasking, in which we're spreading our attention in so many different places that it becomes kind of dispersed. So the result of dharana is an intimate meeting with the object of focus, which in turn, when that meeting becomes more and more sustained, naturally enters next week's focus, the 7th limb of yoga, meditation. So notice how you can enter the practice of dharana when you're working with physical postures, like when you're tuning into the breath and flowing from one posture to another. You can allow the breath to be your anchor, your point of focus that you're concentrating on. Or when you're holding a posture, same thing. When you're steadying your gaze, your drishti. Notice how you can integrate the practice of dharana throughout the physical practice of yoga. And then we'll also practicing it sitting still in meditation. Let's begin by checking in with what's on your plate right now. So as you're finding a still, comfortable position, maybe close the eyes. Start to mentally scan your physical body to become more aware of any sensations happening without needing to label them as positive or negative. Sensing your overall physical state as you're beginning this practice. And then start to become more curious about the breath, just as it is, no need to change it. You're noticing what you can feel about the movement of your breathing. Letting the breath inform you of your energy and how that is right now as you're starting the practice. And then spend a few moments observing your mind and heart. Noticing how you feel mentally and emotionally. And simply holding space for whatever that is. Now let's dive a little deeper into the breath, filling up through the nose, letting it out through the mouth. A little bit slower in through the nose. A little slower out through the mouth. A few more times. I invite you to call to mind anything right now that you can feel appreciation for. Practicing gratitude to open our heart minds. Then clarify an intention for what you're choosing to focus your energy towards in this practice today and cultivate in your experience. As we remember that our practice is not only to serve our well-being, but to be of support for the well-being of life around us. I invite you to choose someone to dedicate your practice to. Someone or a group of beings. Let's open the practice by joining our voices in support of each other, creating resonance through 3 chants of Om. Inhale a little deeper. Let's continue to lengthen the breath, inviting balance of energy as we begin to move the body. Practicing Ujjayi Pranayama, in which you close your lips, just breathing through the nose, and lengthen the inhales as slowly as the exhales, while softly narrowing the back of your throat to create a very subtle and smooth whispering sound to the breath. So as we practice dharana concentration, you can use the sound of your breathing as your point of focus, bringing your attention back to the sound of the breath repeatedly throughout the practice, especially when you find your mind wander. And as you continue listening to that sound, let's give the spine and pelvis a little movement with some Sufi rolls. So if you're sitting cross-legged, you may like to switch the cross of your legs to balance out the stretch in the hips you're already getting. Press your hands down on your lap, lift the spine as you root down the pelvis, and begin to circle the torso to one side and forward as you breathe in, and to the other side and back as you breathe out. Try a few more times in this direction before you switch direction. Invite fluidity to the movement of your spine as you're doing this. Notice if your shoulders want to move organically, or the head wants to sway, beginning to stretch the neck a little more as well. Switch up the circles a few more times. Is there an area of the spine that you might bring a little more movement into, like isolating rotations of the rib cage, or in the shoulders, or even the head, gently circling it? A few more cycles of breath. Maybe the shoulders you want to rotate. Let's get a little more space throughout the sides of the torso and lateral extension. So let's plant the left fingertips on the ground beside the left hip. Raise your right arm. Draw both shoulders down. Lift up through the back of your skull. And let in a deep breath as you're pressing the pelvis downward. As you breathe out, start to lean to your left. Pause where you are as you breathe in, and root both sitting bones down more firmly, stretching the spine from the hips. And then if it's available, side bend a little deeper as you breathe out. Taking that breath by breath. On your next inhale, rise up and backstroke your right hand to the floor behind your pelvis. Raise your left arm, and keeping the pelvis still, on the exhale, twist to your right side and lower the left hand on your lap, or press the back of the hand outside your right thigh. Slide the shoulders down, lift up through your sternum and the back of the skull, and then continue to twist a little more if it's available with each breath out. You can decide to turn your head, looking over one shoulder or the other, to stretch your neck too. On your exhalation, unwind and come back to center. Lower your right fingertips to the floor beside the right hip. Raise the left arm. Press down to lift up and lengthen as you breathe in. Then start to side bend to the right as you breathe out. Press down and lengthen the spine as you breathe in. Continue to side bend as you breathe out. Inhale, come all the way up, backstroke the left hand behind you, raise the right arm. Then keep your pelvis still as you exhale, twist to your left. Lower your right hand on your lap or press the back of it against your left thigh. Rooting down, rising as you breathe in, keeping the pelvis still and turning the ribcage a little more as you breathe out. And maybe stretching the neck by looking over one shoulder or the other. On your next exhale, unwind your spine. And let's make our way down to hands and knees, entering some cat-cows to move the spine a bit more. So set your wrists directly under your shoulders, spreading the fingers flat. And step your knees a couple of inches behind your hips. As you breathe in, glide your chest forward. Roll your shoulders back and down, looking up. As you breathe out, contract your abdomen, slowly dropping your head to round your back. Again, inhale, draw your chest forward. Roll the shoulders back. Exhale, lift the belly in, doming your spine. Keep going at least 3 or 4 more cycles of breath in Vidalasana. We're going to enter a few more gentle movements before we hold still longer in our yin and restorative postures, so the body can welcome the stillness more easily. At the bottom of your next exhalation, tuck your toes and lift your hips as high as you can, pulling them back towards your rear wall. Drop your skull in downward facing dog. Then here, press the ground away with your fingers spread and roll the outer upper arms towards the ground. Lift the shoulders away from the neck and drop your head. Relax your jaw. As you breathe in, bend your right knee, swivel your hips to your right side, and press the left heel into the ground. Look under your left armpit towards the sky. As you breathe out, bend the left knee, swivel your hips to the left, and drop the right heel to the floor. Look under your right armpit towards the sky. Let's try a few more rounds. Inhale, bend right knee, swivel the hips to the right, look under the left armpit. Exhale, bend left knee, swivel your hips to the left, look under right armpit. Try one more cycle on your own. And then coming back through center, inhale, sweep your right leg up high. And as you exhale, bend the right knee and rotate the thigh externally. Turn it out at the hip. Breathe in and tack the left outer hip back. Then as you exhale, softly land the right foot forward beside your right thumb. Set the left knee on the ground and come up high on your fingertips, hands on the floor or propped on blocks. As you breathe in, sink your hips and lift your chest, gazing up. Keep your feet where they are, and as you breathe out, let's come into a wide pyramid pose by drawing the right outer hip back towards straightening the legs to whatever degree is comfortable while you bow forward with a feeling of a flat back. So draw the shoulders back. Let's go in and out. Inhale, lower the back knee again. Kneeling lunge, look up. Exhale, lift the back knee. Pyramid pose, fold in. 3 more cycles. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Step back, downward facing duck. Spread the fingers flat, roll your triceps towards the ground and lift the shoulders back, relaxing your neck. Inhale, sweep your left leg behind you. Exhale, bend the knee and rotate the left thigh open at the hip. Staying here, inhale, tack your right outer hip back. Exhale, gently land left foot beside left thumb and lower your right knee. Come into a kneeling lunge. High on the fingertips, hands on the ground or on blocks. As you breathe in, sink the hips and look up. Keep your feet where they are, and as you breathe out, lift the right knee. Draw your left outer hip back towards whatever degree you can straighten the legs comfortably as you bow with a flat back. Inhale, kneeling lunge again. Look up. Exhale, wide pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid. One more deep breath. Now, keep your wide stance Walk your hands over to the right, pivot your feet so you're in a wide-legged stance in a forward fold with your feet parallel to each other. Make sure the feet are not turned out. Bend your knees any amount you might need for comfort so you're not tensing the hamstrings or the lower back. And you can really just let the spine release. And then from here, reach the hands behind you to clasp, or grab a strap and hold it between your hands if you need to space the hands a little wider apart. As you breathe in, lift your chest forward, stretching the spine as you roll the shoulders behind you. If you can, hug the heels of the palms together and exhale, fold in. Let your head fall. Maybe shake your head no and nod your head yes a few times, loosening the jaw. And as you're stretching the arms further away from your lower back, bend your elbows slightly and lift your shoulder bones away from the neck. Full breath in here. Open the mouth. Any sound, let it out. 2 more times. Deep breath in. You can even flutter your lips to relax the jaw. 1 more. And then from here, heel toe the feet close enough together so you can bend your knees and lower all the way down to sit. Lifting your head slowly once you're there. So let's come into Baddha Konasana, which will hold for a few minutes in a restorative pose. As you're sitting with your legs in front of you, notice if your back tends to round. If it does, grab a blanket and fold it the thickness that you need to elevate your sitting bones on so that you can get a little more boost to create some space here in the hip flexors and lengthen the spine. And then bend your knees apart and bring the soles of your feet together to touch. And for a moment, just play as you keep the feet touching each other, how it feels to slide the heels as close as possible to your groins or far as possible from the groins, keeping this diamond shape, or somewhere in between. And just notice the sensations, especially in your outer hips, your inner thighs, your lower back, which you'll feel more when we're folding forward. So you can decide what distance you want the heels to be from your groins. And then once you have that, oh, and by the way, if your knees tend to lift really high like this, do elevate your pelvis. Try to get the knees to drop by lifting the hips higher than the knees. All right, so you may want to use blocks or pillows or whatever configuration of props. Get creative as you create a little structure to rest your forehead on, which might change as you're in the pose for 3 minutes. So within that 3 minutes, you might find that you lower the structure as your body opens up, possibly, and you go a little deeper. So root down your sitting bones, feet together, hands in front of you. Breathe in and lift your chest, soften the shoulders back and down, and try to keep your throat open so you're not folding at the neck, you're folding at the hips. Imagine as you're bowing from the hips, there's a string pulling your sternum past the front edge of your mat. So there's a slight lift in the chest, and you even slightly firm in the belly to support the lower back, especially those of you that might have something going on in the lower back today. Give it some extra support. And then adjust the props as you need so that you can completely relax your body into the pose. You can make the blocks as high as you may need so that you're not holding yourself up. You can rest the arms, you can rest the neck. And then find stillness. Come back to your anchor, the sound and feeling of your Ujjayi breath. Commit to being present mentally. To this experience in your body. And let out a very slow breath here. And then begin to press your hands into the ground and very gently rise to sit. Stretch the legs out in front of you. And let's circle out the feet for a moment here, just rotating in one direction for a few breaths. And the other direction for a few breaths. How's your breathing? Let's make our way onto our backs. Bending your knees, set your feet on the floor. And turn out your right thigh at the hip as you flex the right foot, cross the ankle on top of your left thigh. Keep your left foot on the floor, keep flexing the right foot. And use your right hand beside your right hip to gently press your inner right thigh open, while rooting the back of your left hip and your shoulders on the ground. What are you feeling here, especially along the right side of your hips? Now opt to stay in this version of this hip opening pose, or thread your right hand between your thighs to explore further. Use both hands to hold your left thigh or your left shin and start to bring the left leg in towards you while you nudge the inner right thigh to splay open, still flexing the right foot and resting your head and shoulders down. If your head doesn't comfortably rest on the ground, you can use any of your props as a pillow. Are you feeling any tension in the body here? Can you locate any points of tension? If so, and focus on one point at a time, maybe closing the eyes and visualizing that area of your body as you breathe in, filling it up with space. And as you breathe out, relaxing that area, softening, melting. And you might do that a few times to one point of tension and notice if you feel any relaxation happening. Now, keeping the shape of your legs in a figure 4, set your left foot onto the ground if it's lifted. And begin keeping the shape. Open up the arms. It'll keep you from falling over. Ground the shoulders. And begin to drop your left thigh open to the left, slowly. And maybe you drop the thigh all the way down, or you can use a pillow or any of your props to catch the thigh if you need, so it doesn't completely turn you over. Your two shoulders are still on the floor. And then to whatever degree you can drop that right foot flat, so it's standing on something, use your left hand, find that same area we were pressing into just earlier, towards the right hip crease, to gently press your inner right thigh towards the front edge of your mat. Notice what you're feeling here. Is there a part of your body you could concentrate on breathing into? And as you're concentrating, notice if other areas of the body start to tense up, like furrowing eyebrows or the tongue or jaw or the neck and shoulders. Invite your whole body to relax. One more deep breath. Now still keep the figure four shape in your legs. Lift the left knee and set the left foot back onto the ground. Okay, let's set the right foot down and separate the feet about mat width apart. Separate your knees as wide apart as your feet. And then keep your feet where they are as you drop both knees to your right side, adjusting the left leg if you need so that your left knee is pointing down the center line of the mat. Now pause here and observe anything you're feeling along the left side of your hip, the front of the hip, the lower back. You can opt to stay in this variation of this pose, which can be gentler than the next option, or to go deeper and cross the right ankle again above the left knee onto the left thigh. And if it feels like that's too far, you can always back off. In either case, you could also explore raising your arms overhead, bending the elbows and holding opposite elbows while you roll the shoulders back and down, resting the arms. So this posture gets a little more into the psoas. Your deep muscles that move from underneath your digestive organs in the front of the hips region. They crisscross at your hip flexors. They're part of your hip flexors. And then they move into the lower back. You might visualize tracing your breath into these pathways. After this exhalation, gently come back to stepping the feet on the floor, hips distance apart with knees bent. Relax your arms. And let's take a long stretch into the full body. Straighten the legs forward. Maybe point the toes as you raise the arms overhead. Couple of lion's breaths just to clear the slate. Deep, deep breath into your nose. Open your mouth wide, stick out your tongue, release any sound as you exhale. One more. Okay, bend the knees, step the feet on the ground again, and this time, turn out your left thigh at the hip and cross the ankle above or on top of your right thigh as you flex the left foot. Pause here. Keep the right foot on the floor. Place your left palm close to the hip crease at your inner left thigh to gently splay the thigh open while you root down the back of the right hip and the backs of both shoulders. Notice what you're feeling here, especially in the left side of your hips. So honoring your body entails maybe doing something different on this side if your hips are feeling different on this side. So choose to stay here or thread the left hand between your thighs. And with two hands, hold the right thigh or shin and slowly bring the leg towards you while you nudge the left thigh open. Still flexing the left foot, still resting the head and shoulders down. Now keep your legs in this figure four shape. Replace the right foot on the ground. And you may want to have pillows or props along the right side of your mat here as you start to drop your right knee open to the right, arms open to keep you from rolling over. So take it to the point where your shoulders can stay grounded and let the left foot land on something, if not the ground. So it's standing. And then use your right hand, find that same spot where we were pressing into just earlier, the top inner left thigh, and gently press it towards the front edge of your mat. Where might you focus the breath into? So visualization, which is a form of meditation, is another way to practice dharana. After this exhalation, keep the shape of your legs, lift the right knee, set the right foot back on the ground, and let's set the 2 feet on the floor about mat width apart. Separate your knees as wide apart as your feet. Keep your feet where they are, then gently drop both knees to your left side. Pause here for a few moments and observe how this pose feels, especially in the front of your right hip and the right side of your lower back. Try to align your right knee down the midline of the mat. Now you might opt to stay here, noticing if there's anything different you need to do on this side of this pose. Or going deeper might entail crossing the left ankle just above your right knee onto your right thigh. And varying the pose might entail raising the arms overhead. And if you already caught opposite elbows last time, try catching the other elbow on top. Might make a slight difference. After the next exhale, come back to center. Slide your legs straight forward, reach the arms overhead, and let's allow another 2 lion's breaths to clear it out. Deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth, stick out the tongue. Again. Draw your bent knees towards your armpits. Rock in different directions, side to side, forward and back. You can circle the legs if you like. Give yourself a glute and lower back massage. Let's spend a few breaths in happy baby pose while we're here. Splay the knees towards the outer armpits. Lift the soles of your feet towards the sky. With the arms between the thighs, catch hold of your outer shins, ankles, or feet. Draw your tailbone, head and shoulders on the ground. And as you pull the feet apart and downward, let your knees sink towards the earth outside your rib cage. Parallel your feet wide apart to each other with the soles facing the sky. And if you like, you can rock side to side. You can straighten one leg, get a hamstring stretch that way, and then straighten the opposite leg. Maybe straighten both legs. You could rest the arms on your inner thighs. You could clasp the big toes. A few more deep breaths here. Then bring your hands to your outer thighs, close the knees like a book, and rock yourself up to sit. Grab a strap, just in case, and place it around the ball of your right foot. Hold the strap in your left hand only. Splay open your left thigh so that maybe you create an angle between the thighs that's greater than 90 degrees, an obtuse angle, bringing the heel of the left foot towards your groins. Holding the strap in the left hand, kick into the strap with the right foot flexed, giving yourself enough slack so your shoulders can easily rest back and down while you lengthen your spine upright. Notice if it's helpful to sit on a prop. Place the right hand outside of the right leg, and as you breathe in, press the pelvis more firmly into the earth and lift up through the spine. Keep your throat open so you're hinging from the hips, not from the neck. Turn your rib cage to the right and start to bow towards the outside of your right leg. Pausing when you breathe in to firm the pelvis downward and lengthen the spine forward. And then continue turning the rib cage to the right and folding towards the right side of your right leg. Making sure that the left glute stays connected to the ground or what you're sitting on. Now visualize the left side of your lower back. Imagine you have lungs there. Let in a full breath into that region. And as you're breathing out, relax the left side of the lower back. A few more breaths like that. Pressing down through your pelvis. Start to rise from the chest. Inhale, slowly come up. Let's place the strap around the ball of the left foot, holding the strap in your right hand. Splay open your right thigh as you bend the knee, bringing the heel of the foot towards your groins, inviting a wider angle than 90 degrees between your thighs. Flex the left foot as you kick the strap away and pull the strap with enough slack so your shoulders are resting down. And then root your sitting bones, lengthen the spine as you breathe in. Rotate your rib cage to the left side of your left leg and fold in that direction as you breathe out. Pause where you are as you breathe in. Press both sitting bones downward and lengthen the spine like a flat back. Turning the rib cage to the left, fold in that direction. Exploring for a few more breaths, try to keep the right glute on the seat below it. You might be visualizing the right side of your lower back receiving the in-breath with expansiveness and relaxing with the out-breath. And last full breath here. This is twisting head to knee pose, Parita Janu Shirshasana. And then press the pelvis down, lead with your chest. Inhale to slowly rise. I invite you into hero's pose if that works for you as we practice pranayama before shavasana and meditation. Hero's pose could be sitting on your calves directly or in between the ankles on the floor, or you could sit on a block between your ankles. If none of those work for you, if your knees are feeling that's not appropriate, then sit in a way that is appropriate for you to be able to breathe fully and be relaxed. Now, if you're in hero's pose, keep your knees safe by not turning out or in your feet. Toes are pointed back, knees stay on the ground, no wider than hips distance. So I invite you into 3-part breathing or Durga Pranayama, which helps to relax the nervous system, and using the breath to concentrate on. So we're practicing Dharana as well. Imagine that your torso, which begins from your pelvic floor to the top of your neck, is divided into 3 cross sections. The first cross section is from your belly button down to the pelvic floor, all the way around. The second section encompasses most of your rib cage, and the third encompasses your chest, upper back, shoulders, and neck. Now we'll breathe in just 1/3 of the breath to fill up the lowest section and pause. We'll breathe in another third to fill up the middle section, then pause. We'll fill up last third into the top section, holding the breath, sitting tall and relaxed. We'll observe the body, and then through the nose, we'll very slowly empty the breath and hold it out and observe. That's 1 cycle. Let's try 3 cycles together and then 3 cycles on your own of 3-part breathing. Prepare to begin by filling up the lungs fully through the nose. Let it out through the mouth. Maybe hand on the chest, hand on the belly, close the lips. Inhale 1/3 into the lowest section of your torso. Pause. Inhale 1/3 into the middle. Pause. Inhale 1/3 into the top. Hold your breath, relax your body. Through your nose, very slowly empty the breath. Hold it out, observe, relax. Round 2, inhale lowest section. Pause. Inhale middle section. Pause. Inhale the top. Hold the breath, relax. Exhale very slowly through the nose. Hold the breath, relax. 3rd cycle, inhale lowest section. Pause. Inhale middle. Pause. Inhale top. Hold it in, relax. Exhale slowly. Hold it out, observe. Then keep going on your own. 3 more cycles. When you have finished, relax into natural breathing and notice anything you feel. And gradually lower your body to the ground and find a comfortable position to lie down in, resting in stillness and presence for a few minutes of Shavasana. As you rest here a little longer with your eyes closed, observe how your physical body feels. Take your time and listen to how your body wants to begin moving to wake up. Gradually turning over onto your right side, resting the head. Pause there for a few moments to observe your breathing and notice how your energy feels. Sensing if anything has shifted through your practice. As you're ready, take your time lifting your body up, finding a comfortable way to sit for 5 minutes in meditation. Positioning your body in a way that you can be still comfortably and alertly is a really important part of meditating. We want to get the outer circumstances to support the inner circumstances. And that can include placing your hands in a mudra, closing the eyes, steadying a downcast gaze if your eyes are open. Some mudras for different purposes, just like different postures. A neutral position to help concentrate with is stacking the right palm face up on top of the left palm in the center of your lap and letting the thumb tips gently touch. One mudra for inviting inward focus is also turning the palms face up to rest on your lap and letting the thumb and index fingers touch. In the same shape of the hands with the palms turned downward invites a grounding energy. So depending on what you need right now, place your hands in a mudra of your choice and then choose what you will rest your attention intentionally on. Your object of focus for practicing concentration to invite meditation. A simple thing might be the feeling of your natural breath as it flows in and out while resting your attention on one specific area in your body. If you're more inclined to listening to sounds or tuning into them, you could let your attention rest on a particular sound you're hearing that is consistent. Or if you're more prone to visualization, you could visualize an area, a point in your chakras that you might be aware of, or just your third eye center. Imagining a glowing white light there at the center of your brain and resting your attention on it. Think of your anchor as a resting place for the wandering mind. So if you find your attention wandering away from it, let go of where you've been wandering to and let your attention rest back into the stillness of that anchoring point. Like a coming home. Bring a gentle, easeful quality to your focusing. Letting the focusing itself be a relaxation for your mind. Letting go of its restlessness. Notice how your mind and heart feel right now. Sense any effects of your yoga practice, including meditation. Now, what is something that you could offer gratitude for in this moment? You might join your palms at heart center as we bring our practice to close, reminding yourself of your intention for this practice and maybe something you continue to cultivate after it. Remember as well to whomever you dedicated this practice. Let's join our voices in chanting Om this time. Sense the resonance from your practice that you've cultivated, that you're sending out to your voice, into the life around you, and you're integrating within the cells of your being. Let in a deep breath. Bowing in, the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.